How's it, everybody? And welcome to the inaugural episode of BandscoreCast. My name's Adam Wenzer, and I'm your host for the channel. You might be streaming live on this right now, so thanks for joining us. We are live, and this is the first episode of the BandscoreCast channel. So today we're going to be talking about argument essay writing, arguably one of the most difficult things to do when it comes to the IELTS exam. I've been teaching the course now for around 6 to 7 years, and one of the things I find the most is that writing is definitely the most underdeveloped skill, and that's why we're here today to talk about one of the styles of essay writing, which is the argument essay writing. If you like what you see on today's channel, feel free to give us a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss out on any future content. The other way you can support the channel is via our Patreon page at patreon.com/BandscoreCast, where you can enjoy many benefits, including having access to my full library of work and having the opportunity to submit task 1 and 2 writing pieces, some of which will be corrected live right here on the channel. So good to see everyone. Thanks for coming. The other thing we do on every episode is we call out an awesome patron who supports the channel. And today I'd like to call out Erica Mercado. Erica, thank you so much for your support. And yeah, hopefully you can join us for today and for all future episodes of BandscoreCast content. So today, guys, what are we doing here? We are talking argument essay writing. So in the IELTS test, there are 2 pieces of writing that you need to do. There is if you're doing the general test, there is a letter, and that can be a formal or informal letter. Other than that, you could be doing an essay, and the essay could be one of a few different styles. Today we're going to be looking at argument essay writing, which is essentially when you take your position at the very beginning of the essay, then you argue that through until the end. So probably one of the common questions that we sort of see here is how do we identify them, and how do we work through them when we're sitting the test? How do we know which one is which? So today's class is going to be centering on a few different things. Number 1 is going to be looking at question types. 2 is looking at brainstorming vocabulary and how that fits in with the whole essay. The third part is the ideas matrix. This is the step that we use to really make sure that the essay is robust and we've got a great content in there. The other is obviously looking at the essay framework. And today we're going to be looking at sentences literally one by one to ensure that you guys are comfortable when doing the test and you sort of understand the attack strategy that's there. At the end of the class, I'm going to actually have the PDF ready for you to download for free. So that's something that we'd like to give back to the community, just to make sure that what you see here today, you can also download and have that be able to access that moving forward. Cool. All right, guys, we're now going to flick to the essay. You can see on my screen here. It's the argument essay that we're doing today is one about pollution. So the question we have is, by 2030, humanity will have solved all of its pollution problems. What's your opinion? So the first thing we're looking at here is it is an argument essay, and we can know that simply by the words at the end of the question. We've got here, what's your opinion? We can also have, do you disagree or agree? We can have, what else can we have? What's your opinion? Do you agree or disagree? Do you think this is a good thing? To what extent do you agree with this? So there's a whole range of different sort of words at the end of the question that we can use to identify an argument essay. Cool. Okay, so we've identified that. So by 2030, humanity will have solved all of its pollution problems. What we need to do now is we need to essentially start listing words that would be good for us when it actually comes to the essay itself. So let's start writing down a bunch of stuff here. So the first word we want to write here is corruption, something that would definitely impact this topic. Global being about the world stage. Second one being, let's say, consumers, being people like us. The next one we're going to go with is government. Cool. The next part we're going to go, hey Erica, hey Rodolfo, thanks for joining us, guys. Awesome, I can see you live. The next part after government is energy. So we've got our energy piece there. After that word, we can look at dump or dumping. It's probably a good word to use when looking at sort of how rubbish is managed globally. Here we're just sort of putting down words that we might want to use in the essay. when it doesn't have to be fixed here. This is just like called a brainstorm. It's like going to the gym and warming up. When you go to the gym, you don't do exercises straight away. You want to make sure that the muscles are warm, and that's what we're doing here. So corruption, global, consumers, government, energy, dumping. We might want to go with innovation is another good word here. Another one we might want to use is behavior. Again, consumer behavior of big companies, across the globe. Renewable, as in renewable energy. And the last one being agreements. So thinking about, what agreements are in place around the world that might impact this this topic moving forward. That's our brainstorm vocab. You may not write 10 words, you might only write 4 or 5, but the main thing here is you want to give yourself about 60 seconds to actually do this, just to warm up and get the brain moving. Because this section here will then go straight into the next section, which is our ideas matrix. And this is probably the most important part of the essay, other than writing, obviously, the essay. But what we want to do here is, again, the question is pollution problems will be solved by 2030. Here we say, I agree. Why? The other side is, I disagree. Why? So this is where we start to take that vocab and start to put it in some sort of form that we can then use later to actually write the essay itself. So let's do that now. You'd probably do this for about 3 or 4 minutes in the real essay. Again, we've got 40 minutes to write this in the real test. We want to take 5 or 6 minutes at the start to make sure that everything's planned and when we're doing the right thing. Okay, so ideas matrix, I agree. Why would we agree that pollution will be solved by 2030? Again, let's write what we had before, global agreements. And quite a famous global agreement that is currently in place is called the Paris Global Agreement, where many countries around the world have signed up to essentially combat climate change. The next idea that probably we want to be looking at, again from our brainstorm, is government investment. So let's just write that down here. Government investment, and again, probably looking at renewables, as in the government's investing in renewable energy. That's a good thing. So those two things are strong arguments as to why we believe that pollution problems will be solved by 2030. Now, I'm going to leave the contrast for the moment and describe them a bit later. I'm now going to go to the third and fourth argument on this side, and I'll describe why in just a moment, but we want to make sure we do this thoroughly on both sides so that when it comes to writing the essay, we've got enough content that we can draw upon. Okay, down the bottom here, what have we got here? We've got widespread education. So we know that across the globe, we're seeing article after article in the newspaper, magazines, television media about pollution and why and what we can do to actually impact that. So that's a big one, widespread education, and probably in brackets there we want to put something like science-based. It's based on science. So a lot of the content that's being circulated. The last one being, let's say, fines, and looking at commercial. So when businesses do the wrong thing, they get fined, essentially. Okay, so that's that side. We're now going to go to why we disagree with the fact that pollution problems may not be solved by 2030. So why would we disagree? We disagree because of political corruption. So political, just watch the spelling here. This is live. We are live, guys. Awesome. Political corruption. Okay, so if governments have vested interests in not doing the right thing, they won't do the right thing. And I think that this is one of the big blockers when it comes to climate change and management and the management of these topics globally. Political corruption is one. The other one we might want to look at is a lack of innovation. And that came from our brainstorm, the word innovation. A lack, is that loc or lack? What have we got here? A lack of innovation in industry. Cool. That's the next one. Hey, Eugenia, good to see you. Nice to see you again. Awesome. So political corruption, a lack of innovation in industry. They're the two arguments there. The next one we're going to have here is, again, why we disagree. I would say here a big one is cultural practices. So cultural practices. What have we got? CES. Now, what I'm thinking here is stuff like dumping rubbish into rivers. We know that culturally, some countries across the world, that's the way they manage rubbish, and that's just the way they do it. And unless that's combated, we aren't going to see necessarily huge change across the globe. So, cultural practices. I'm going to put here dumping and let's say rivers. So we keep focused on that. you can see here with the matrix, we only have there are only a few words per point, and that's quite deliberate. We don't want to be writing massive sentences at this point. We want to just get our ideas on the paper and see if they actually fit or not. So cultural practices, dumping rivers is good. The other one we want to look at here, I think, is first world behavior, being behavior, shown, or illustrated, done by first world countries. So whereas in developing countries, they may manage pollution in a certain way, first world behavior could be just flicking on and off the light every time you go in and out of a room, or actually not doing that. So for first world behavior we have here, and I just write here, lights left on. It's another example of, again, if we don't shift our own behavior, this is not going to work for anybody. Now, contrast arguments are interesting. So what they mean is, for example, if I decided to write the essay from this angle, I disagree with the fact that pollution will be solved by 2030, and these are my arguments. What we want to do is we want to make sure that there are some sort of contrast arguments in there. And what that means is, the way I describe it when I'm teaching normally is, imagine you are standing in front of 500 people and you say, "Hi everybody, my name's Adam, and these are my arguments as to why pollution will continue. Number one, political corruption. Number two, a lack of innovation in industry." And then someone from the crowd says, "Yeah, Adam, but." So they're going to challenge me on that point. And I think a good challenge for me right now is something like global agreements. So we can take the idea from the left and put it here on the right. So this is now, I'm now developing the right-hand side, because I believe that that's the side I should be focusing on. The second part of the matrix here, we've got cultural practices, first world behavior. So this is more about behavior, consumer behavior, that type of thing. Again, what's something that could be contrasted against this? Probably a good one would be government investment and renewable energy. So people say, "Oh yeah, yes, there's cultural practices and there's first world behavior that needs attention. However, how about all the government investment?" So what we've got here, guys, is the actual map of our essay that we're going to do right now. So you could easily do it in reverse on the right-hand side with "I agree." So have a play with this yourself and to see what works best for you. Okay, I'm now going to go down. This is me. Hello. So this is the PDF I'm going to give you guys at the end of the class today. It's just important that that what we do here, you've then got physical access to in your hands. You can print it up, you can share it, you can do whatever you want with it. All right, what I'm going to do here is, instead of typing every word, which could be a bit onerous on you guys, I'm just going to copy and paste sentences across that I've pre-prepared. So, how do we write an argument essay? There are certain steps, in my view, that that we take to write this. Now, I'll preface this by saying this is the Adam perspective. This is the Adam way to write essays. There are other great IELTS teachers around the world that will tell you otherwise and give you different structures. This is the way I teach it. So look, take it, take it or leave it. If you can benefit from this at all, awesome. So let's start. So the sentence one is what's called a helicopter overview. So rather than going straight to anything in the matrix that we've mapped or any particular answer, we want to talk generally about humanity and how it has impacted the Earth over generations or over years. Because remember, the question is, humanity will have solved all of its pollution problems. So we want to give some sort of historical perspective here, something very, very broad. The sentence I've got here is this one. I'm just going to make that blue so it's a bit clearer. There we go. So, since industrialization, humans have destroyed much of the flora and fauna around them and overconsumed many natural resources. This is a bit of a picture of humanity so far. So, what you'll notice is a couple of things I want to point out here. Whenever we're writing academically, the word since goes very well with the grammar present perfect. So those of you who are familiar with present perfect is things like have done, have been, have destroyed, have given, so have something. And so we can't really say since industrialization humans are, or humans. So we need to make sure that we've got the grammar correct there. So again, since industrialization, humans have destroyed much of the, now flora and fauna are plants and animals. around them and overconsume many natural resources. That's a pretty good beginning in terms of what are we talking about here? We're talking about humans and their historical behavior. What we want to do now is we want to bring in the next sentence, which it's important to make sure that we flow well when we write. I'm just gonna paste this here, and you can see this here. All right, sentence 2. I've got here, there's got to be a cohesive link to sentence 1. So when you're writing an essay, you want to make sure it sort of flows nicely like this. It just flows. It's not like quite disjointed. A lot of people, when they're learning to write, they'll just write sentences that don't necessarily link together. It's important with the IELTS test that we're able to show the examiner that there is cohesiveness. It's one of the elements of the IELTS. It's one of the components that the examiner will look at when providing your mark. The way that we can show true cohesiveness here is saying owing to this. Now we can't say owing to this unless there's something previous. So what we've said basically is humans have destroyed the earth for a long time. Because of this, or owing to this behavior, there is now much discussion around whether or not serious environmental problems humanity now faces can be effectively tackled or effectively combated, managed, that type of thing. So it's important that we start strong. We start strong here. So it's truly important that we give the examiner a really good impression when we start. So let me just read it so far. We've got, since industrialization, humans have destroyed much of the flora and fauna around them and overconsumed many natural resources. Owing to this, there is now much discussion around whether or not the serious environmental problems humanity now faces can be effectively tackled. Cool. Good so far. Now what we want to do is, because this is an argument essay, we want to give our position, the author position, now, right now, and not to leave it any longer. And we're going to do this with what's called a contrast sentence with although at the beginning. So what we have here is, although many argue that pollution will soon become a thing of the past, something that we don't have to worry about anymore, I contend the opposite. Contend is like argue. I firmly am saying that this is not going to happen. So although many may argue that pollution will soon become a thing of the past, I contend the opposite. It's important that we do give our opinion very clearly at this point. And I think a bit of a strategy here is using the word although. So although many say this, I think this. It's a good sentence structure to use, because rather than saying, although many people think this, I contend blah, 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 we're just saying I contend the opposite. Nice and clean, nice and simple to use. The last thing we're going to do here, guys, is the very last sentence for sentence 4, which is it's like a reason statement. It just says reasons supporting my position will be outlined below. There we have it. So we're saying for a long time humans have behaved badly. 2, because of this, there's a lot of debate around whether or not we can actually do anything now because of our behavior. 3, although many people argue that it is going to soon be a thing of the past, I don't think so. And reasons supporting my position are going to be outlined below. Cool. The other thing to think about is that most of our sentences should be between 15 and 25 words. Really important for that to happen, because if you're writing very short sentences like 8 words, 7 words, 9 words, it's not going to be viewed well by the examiner. The examiner is going to be looking at structured writing. Structured academic writing, you can argue, is between 15 and 25 words. You will go over 25 at some point, and that's cool. If you're a good writer, you can write 35, 40, 45, 50 word sentences. But what we need to be worried about here, or thinking about here, is the time. You've got 40 minutes to do this from start to finish. This class today, guys, will probably go for half an hour. I'm slowing it down quite a bit, and I've rewritten the sentences, but you can get a feel about what we're trying to achieve here. So helicopter overview, cohesive link to sentence 1, author position, and give me a reason statement below. Cool. Next, first supporting paragraph. What this is it relates to the arguments. I'm just going to scroll up again now just for a second. This is going to relate back to this here. So this is going to be essentially paragraph 2, sorry, the one we're on now. And after that, we'll do paragraph 3. So it's all been done. It's all been mapped already. So you won't be in the test thinking, oh, what do I do now? I don't know what to do now. A lot of people won't come into the test with any of these strategies. They'll just start writing and literally cross their fingers and hope for the best. That's not what we want to do. We want to make sure that it's good, it's planned, and we're doing what we can do. All right, let's go through this. So we're going to start with the first argument that we mapped before, which was political corruption. And actually, before I do that, I'd just like to show you one more thing. This is a bit of a secret sauce. This is a bit of a secret sort of strategy that I've developed over the last few years of teaching IELTS. And it really helps IELTS candidates focus a lot on writing good sentences and writing good structure. So again, this is something I've developed over the last couple of years. When students have come to me and said, Adam, how do I write these sentences? I get it. I get the ideas. I understand that we need to talk about political corruption, that type of thing. But how do I do it? Okay, so what I've come up with is 5 ways of writing a sentence. They start with the word if, they start with the word by, they start with the word when, they start with either a verb in the ing form, or they start with a noun. Okay, so let's look at this and see how it works. For example, these are different essays, but I'm just giving you a bit of idea as how we do this. So, for example, firstly, we might introduce our first argument, which we're going to do in our other essay. Firstly, if governments reduce the number of car parks in cities and use that space for bicycle lanes instead, people can be encouraged to leave their cars at home. So what we have here is we've got the if form. Firstly, if blah, 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 after the comma, we've got a noun. That's the structure there. So it's like, it doesn't say if plus noun up here, but this is something you guys can learn when you rewatch this video or you just keep studying again and again. So firstly, if blah, 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 comma, noun. Super important when it comes to this particular structure. The next one is looking at the word moreover. Okay, that's another word we're going to be using in today's essay. Now, we can also use that it can be argued that. This is a string of words that can be used also here. Firstly, it can be argued that if, so we don't use it all the time, but we can use it sometimes. So moreover, it can be argued that when, okay, so the when is actually here. Moreover, it can be argued that when more and more people move to big cities, unemployment can increase. So again, we've got firstly, comma, noun. We've got moreover, comma, noun. So nice and easy to remember so far. The next thing we've got here is firstly, again, just another example. Firstly, by. Now, when you use the by, you've got to use the ing verb. So firstly, by scheduling more public transport options for commuters, you can see, whoops, that's a bit of a spelling mistake there. I can correct that now. So firstly, by scheduling more public transport options for commuters, it can be argued that more people. So the focus really here is people. Okay, so again, we've got if, comma, noun. We've got when, comma, noun. We've also got by plus ing, comma, and then really focusing on the noun. So we've got 3 structures: if, by, when, noun, noun, noun. The other thing we can do here is use the other 2 structures, which is the ing verb and the noun itself. Let's look at that. These 2 are a little bit different. So we've got here, additionally, let's say educating children about the risks associated with the use of the internet can help them to understand the dangers that exist online. The key thing here is if you start the sentence with an ing verb, you would use a modal verb, can, later on. There is no comma in this sentence. Additionally, educating children about the risks associated with the use of the internet can help them to understand the dangers that exist online. This is a way to introduce an argument that supports your position. All of these 5 structures will help you do that. The next one here is the one that I probably use the most. It starts with the noun, and it also is followed by a modal verb, in this case can. So furthermore, the introduction of tolls on private vehicles can be a strong disincentive to drive because people will be forced to pay even more money. So what we have so far, first we've got, if, by, when, comma, 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 noun, noun, noun. We've also got ing verb, noun, followed by can and can. We're going to see that now when we do this essay and see how we can implement this idea, this methodology, into our essay. Let's do it. Let's start with political corruption. All right, let's do it. First sentence, here it is. Firstly, Political corruption, which is unlikely to disappear, can play a significant role in many of the environmental problems we see today. Couple of things here. So we've started with the noun, political corruption. We've also got in here what's called this is actually a non-defining relative clause. A relative clause in English is when you have the word which, or that, or when, or where, or why, that type of thing. You know, something like, you could also have the example like, that's the lady who I used to work for. That's called a relative clause. This one here is a non-defining relative clause. And what that means is this part here is non-defining. If we remove that, the sentence still works. So firstly, political corruption can play a significant role in many of the environmental problems we see today. Good writers will often include non-defining relative clauses to make sure that they can extend the definition of what they're talking about. In this case, political corruption. We're going to extend the definition of political corruption. So firstly, political corruption, which is unlikely to disappear, can play a significant role in many of the environmental problems we see today. Sorry guys, my little camera in the corner there may have been blocking some of that text. So that's the sentence we've got. If you count those words, it's going to be between 15 and 25 words in length. Okay, so that's the first one. The second supporting argument is going to be around about the lack of innovation. So let's bring in this one now. All right, cool. Next one. Second supporting argument. Moreover. So we've got our firstly and our moreover. We've got a lack of innovation. So we've done it again. We've actually got noun plus noun. Now I'm actually going to delete that comma. Yeah. Okay, so we've got here, moreover, a lack of innovation resulting from political inaction can see those serious problems around us becoming even more difficult to combat into the future. Again, structure focus here. Firstly, moreover, we've chosen the noun. So firstly, political corruption. After nouns, we use modal verbs, can. So firstly, political corruption, which is unlikely to disappear, can. Okay. Then moreover, a lack of innovation resulting from political inaction can see those serious problems around us becoming even more difficult to manage. Cool. First two sentences done. Sitting around 25 words for both. All right. Next, contrast and rebuttal. So what this is about is we're now going to do that yeah but section where we chose something from the other side of the matrix, and we're going to put that here. Followed by a response from us. So let me copy this in, and let me just then describe how we actually do this. All right. Despite the fact that global agreements such as the Paris Agreement are in place and can lead to profound change, it can be equally argued that these same agreements call for action, which can prove difficult. All right. So what we've got here is we've taken the position that this is not going to be solved by 2030. This is our first argument, political corruption. This is our second argument, a lack of innovation. We then have the person that says, yeah, Adam, but, and that's here. Despite the fact that the person says global agreements are in place and can lead to profound change, can't they? And we say yes. However, and then we would provide this statement back to that person. So just imagine you're public speaking in front of 500 people. Like we said before, you say this is your first argument. You say this is your second argument. Someone stands up from the audience and they say this argument. Then you say, yeah, thank you, I understand that. However, this. And then the person sits down again, and then they accept the fact that you've got an argument. So what we're doing here is we're basically we're essentially giving our arguments and trying to challenge them as one author. This is really good style. This is really good style in terms of the IELTS essay. Cool. Let's now go to the next part, which is paragraph 3. This is the second supporting paragraph. This is going to help us to complete the essay in a way that reflects the matrix that we mapped out before. All right. The next sentence, as part of this paragraph 3, is we've got this additionally. So additionally, many cultures have entrenched practices. Entrenched are things that have lasted for a long time, and they're part of that community or person. Additionally, many cultures have entrenched practices, such as dumping rubbish into rivers, which reduces the likelihood or the probability or the chance of any meaningful change into the future. So if we're talking about combating climate change, environmental damage, we have many entrenched cultural practices around the world of dumping. So unless that's addressed, like we said, these problems aren't necessarily going to go away. So you'll notice here we've got our additionally, which is another adverb. So remember we had our firstly, we had our moreover, then we've got our additionally. Again, look at the structure here. Additionally, many cultures have entrenched practices. Which now what we could do here is, because we've started with a noun like many or many cultures, we could have the word can here. We haven't got it here now, but let me show you how it would work. Additionally, many cultures have entrenched practices such as dumping rubbish into rivers, which could reduce. So a modal verb is also could, which could reduce the likelihood of any meaningful change into the future. It's possible. It's possible that it could reduce things. So that's what's happening here. Christian, how are you, mate? Good to see you online. Awesome. So yeah, that's what we've got there. So many cultures have entrenched practices which could reduce the likelihood of any meaningful change into the future. Awesome. We've now got our fourth argument. Our fourth argument is going to be our furthermore, and this time we're going to use a different structure. We're going to use an if. Here we are. Furthermore, if first world consumers do not change their behavior when it comes to power usage, humanity may well face problems a lot worse than what it faces today. The focus of this one, you may have remembered before, when we use if, we use the comma, and then we use noun, which is right here. So furthermore, if first world consumers do not change their behavior when it comes to power usage, humanity may well it's quite likely, it's the probability is higher, may well face problems a lot worse than what it faces today. This is nice vocab, guys. May well. Something may well happen. Like the probability is higher. So that's nice language. So let me just go up the page a little bit again now. Let me just show you a couple of things. So we've got our noun followed by can. We've got innovation, again, a lack of, or that's really determining how innovation is formed in that sentence. Innovation followed again, where have we got here? Actually, my apologies. So we've got noun followed by can. We've got also noun followed by can. All good. Then we've got our challenger in the audience who says, yeah, but what about the Paris Agreement? And then we respond and we say, yeah, I understand that, but for things to really change, we need action from all parties. Over the page, we've then gone to additionally. We've also then said another noun, and we've also got the modal verb could. We've also got furthermore. Here we've used the if, and after the if, we use noun. So if, comma, noun is here with humanity at the end. Cool. All right. Last one. Guys, hope you're enjoying this. Hope you're learning some stuff. This is sort of, a lot of years of learning sort of being squashed into 25 minutes, half an hour. Contrast rebuttal. Let's type it. Starting again with although many may argue that government investment in renewable energy programs is making strong inroads. Inroads are things that are done to essentially help solve a problem. So if you're making inroads into something, you've got a problem, you've got a challenge, and you're doing your best to tackle that, to combat that, to do whatever it is. So although many may argue that government investment in renewable energy is making strong inroads, the fact remains that pollution problems require more than government action alone. So again, the challenger says, yeah, but what about renewables? And we say, understand that. However, pollution problems require more than just essentially government investment alone. We need action. We need people changing. We need commerce, the commercial side changing. We need everybody part of this program. Guys, we're basically almost finished the essay. The next thing we're going to do here is we're going to restate our opinion at the end of the essay. That is here. Let me just copy that into here. Here's a bit of a structure for you. So in consideration of those points outlined above, like, referencing back to what we've just said, I reaffirm my position. I say it again, that there are many forces at work. There are many factors that are contributing to this. Forces at work is either people deliberately doing the wrong thing or just factors that are directly involved in this situation. So in consideration of those points outlined above, I reaffirm my position that there are many forces at work that will see these pollution problems around us continue and potentially worsen, potentially get worse. Cool. Okay. It's not cool, obviously, but cool being we're almost finished. All right. Last sentence of the essay. We're going to give some sort of forward forecast here. Just finish off the essay with a bit of a look into the future. In the years to come, it's highly likely that much investment will be directed towards the environment as mankind continues to progress. So we're not saying necessarily that it's going to get worse or better. We're just basically finishing by saying, yeah, we will most likely see a lot more money thrown at the environment because we're just going to continually progress and push and push and push and push. That's it. We've finished the essay. Done, guys. That'll be... So let me just go down the page a little bit further. So here we are. Sorry, I think my little camera on the screen has been blocking some of my essay writing. That's fine. You can check it later. Task considerations. Remember, you spend about 40 minutes on this task, and you need to write at least 250 words, which we have done here. Now, I've copied this essay prior to doing this live. This is what it looks like when it's done, it's finished. So we've got our first paragraph, we've got our second paragraph, we've got our firstly, we've got our moreover, we've got our additionally, we've got our furthermore. Nice vocab. It tells the examiner we're thinking about what we're doing. There's a nice flow, there's a nice focus. And we've also got those nice sentence structures here with a focus being on if and noun forms. That's really finished. Now, just the word count here is 65, 83, 78, and 53. Normally, guys, when I'm teaching in live classes, as in person-to-person classes, what I would describe to people is when you're writing an essay, make sure that your paragraph numbers, again, this is the Adam way, is around 70, 75, 75, and 60. What that does, if you go 70, 75, 75, so 75 and 75 is 150. 150 plus 70 is 220, and the 60 at the end is 280. That'll give us around 280 words. A 70, 75, 75, 60. This is a good word count. Minimum is 250. We don't want to aim for 250 because we might miss the word count, and that wouldn't be ideal from a test perspective because the examiner may look down on that. So we want to aim above and make sure that we do score above. Cool. Down below, you know, when looking at the types, when looking at the way that the examiner would mark this, I've looked at the framework and really assigned the mark that I would give to this essay. Task response is now band 9. We have directly responded to the question, and we've answered exactly what it required of us. In terms of coherence and cohesion, coherence is can I understand the essay? Is it clear? Cohesion is does it flow? And we've talked about flow a lot today to make sure that it really moves from one sentence to another cleanly. Lexis or lexical resource is your vocabulary. You know, what vocab have we used? We used lots of really interesting vocabulary today, and we can go back and check on that when we finish this. Grammar range and accuracy, we've made no grammar errors. We've actually used lots of really quite advanced grammar structures that are there in that essay. So guys, yeah, that's really the end for today. That's really what I wanted to focus on, being the first video for BandscoreCast around essay writing, argument essay writing. I hope you've enjoyed it. And I look forward to doing more of this stuff with you guys in the future. We're going to be doing a whole bunch of stuff. We're going to be looking at the other different forms of essays, like discussion essays, what I call twin question essays, which are there's 2 other types of essay. The other thing that we're going to be looking at is lots of classes on vocab, pronunciation, grammar. You know, I enjoy teaching grammar. I think it's pretty cool. So, you know, we can get through a lot of that content together. So, cool, guys. Good to see you all. Thanks for jumping in. I can see you all live here, and Rodolfo, I'm glad you like the Brazil coffee export sign at the back. Yeah, there's a bit of Brazil marketing there. So, thanks, guys. Good to see you all, and we are done. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Just before we go, if you like, again, if you sort of like what's going on here, feel free to give us a bit of a thumbs up also on social media. We've got our BandscoreCast on Twitter. We've got BandscoreCast on Instagram. We've got our BandscoreCast on Facebook. Find us there. Say good day. If you want to float any questions, pose any questions for any future episodes, feel free. I'm more than happy to sort of take on that feedback about any future content. And yeah, be good. Take care. And I'll see you on the next episode. Ciao, ciao.